Okay guys, how are y'all doing today? So today we'll be installing, in fact putting back our crankcases together. So I already put on my liquid gasket on the cases, as you can see, and the crank is installed already. That's simple guys, you can just press it in by hand, and I installed the piston. So let's go ahead, and please remember again guys, your dowel pins, one goes here and one is already in over here. So the tool we'll be using, this is our body for the crank puller. This is the crank puller. This is the collet screw that goes over our crank when we put on our left casing. This will sit on there. I'll show you that in a minute guys. And here are our adapters, M10, and one is an M12, so most likely we will be using this M10. And also our tightening nut to pull the cases together. So only thing left for us in this right casing guys is to put in our oil screens, and you want to put the longer end of the oil screen down into your right case. So as you can see, you got the short side and this long side. The long side goes into the right side of the case guys. So let's go ahead and get the cases pulled together. So okay guys, first thing I'm going to do is to install the left side onto the right casing, lining up everything. Okay guys, so now we can go ahead and install our collet onto the crank. Then we'll connect our adapter, which sits into our collet here. So we'll thread that onto the crank. Alright guys, now we'll get our puller tool, thread that onto the collet. And let me see, we should have enough clearance down there. You might have to spin your body because it has a groove in there for it to sit in. So I'm going to get 2 bars here guys so that it can sit, so that it doesn't put any pressure on the casing. Okay guys, so I'm going to use these 2 open-end wrenches as my base for the puller body to sit on, so when we start to pull it doesn't damage our cases. So I just put a rag under there also to help protect the cases. So we can connect our screw now guys, our puller screw. Okay, go ahead and connect our puller screw, and then we can start to tighten down that, and then the cases will come together. We just got to keep an eye to make sure everything comes together evenly. So keep an eye guys, and you'll see. So it's a 27mm nut. So you just gotta give it a light tap with your mallet, guys, so that this back piece goes down as well. Whenever you feel any resistance, you just want to tap around, guys, and make sure everything is going evenly. Okay, guys, I think being that these bars weren't high enough, my screw bottom out on me, so I didn't get everything together. So I'm just going to tighten it down now to give it that final. Alright. Okay guys, so the cases are back together. So all we gotta do now is put in our bolts that hold the cases together, and then we can go ahead and start putting our transmission or gears or clutch, everything back together on the clutch side. So I catch you guys in a few.
When installing your bolts, guys, you want to make sure that each of them have the same level or height out of the casing. That way you know you have the right bolt in the right place. If it's too tall or too short, it goes right in, you know it's not the right bolt. So please make note of that, guys.
So there we go. We just need to tighten these down with our 8mm. And you want to hand tighten these first, guys. You want to start making sure so we don't cross thread them. We just start with our hand. Make sure everything is going in properly. If you're going to use a impact driver or a impact wrench, make sure your screws are started in the thread so you don't damage the threading or cross threading. Okay guys, so all the bolts are tightened now, so I'm just go around and make sure that everything is tight. Okay guys, so everything is nice and tight. As you can see, our bearings are rotating freely, so we just got to put on our topping, our gaskets, and then put on the head and shim our valves, get our timing chain back in, timing chain guide, and we're on our way, guys. Okay guys, so now I'm going to install the cam chain. So we just go down through our top here, and then we get that around the gear. And then we can just rest that aside. Then we can put in our cam chain holder, which sits in right there, and it's an 8mm screw. So you know which way it goes, guys. It has a tab that it also sits on, so tighten that down. Then we can put in our cam chain guide. Sits right here. And that's a 6mm all-in head. Okay, so basically we're done over here until we're going to install our stator and our flywheel and then our cover, guys. So let's get the other side. Okay guys, so first we're going to install our shift spring, which goes in here. Then we can install our collar, which sits on that. Then we'll install our shifter ratchet, then the washer and our nut. And this sits, the spring sits in this little groove, guys, so make sure to get that into that groove. There we go. So we can put on our nut now. That's a 8mm. That looks like a 10, yeah, 10mm, guys. So we just want to tighten that down with our 10mm. Please make sure that the spring is sitting in this little groove. So the spring sits in that little groove here, guys. So next we can install our shift drum assembly, and remember this indent sits on that notch, so you want to make sure to align that. So we can just take the screw out, and we'll need to hold this down so we can install that, guys. It's best to use a screwdriver, but we may be able to do it by hand. Alright, there we go guys, and then the ratchet will sit into the drum there. So now we can just install our stud with the nut on there and tighten that down. It's our 12mm. Okay guys, there we go. Just use a ratchet guys, don't bother to use a impact wrench on this. Just use a ratchet and get it as tight as possible. So there we go. So now we can install our shifter assembly. And this one is a tricky one guys. This one got your pause gears in there, so you want to keep that in one piece when assembling it. So here we go guys, we just keep that as one piece, and that will sit on our shift drum stud here. So just gently get that in. Okay guys, so if you're having trouble getting it in, just squeeze the pause gear here and the spring will help you to get it in correctly. So let's get our screws in guys, our bolts and our screw. We just want to tighten down this 8mm first. Then we can get in our Phillips head screw, which sits at the top. And that one we want to impact it when we're tightening it in guys. So we'll just tap it with our hammer while tightening the screw. Please make note of the dowel pin that sits right here on your oil pump gear, on your oil pump I should say. Okay guys, so that should be good. So next we'll install our oil pump. Please remember the star and the pin that sits in there has a alignment where it sits. You'll know when it's sitting properly, when it sits flush. So here's the pin guys, and here's the grooves in there, and that's it. And we want to install our oil pump star first. We can take out our screws. Then we can just go ahead and install the oil pump. As I say, please make note of the dowel pin that sits right here. So okay, there we go guys. So let's get our bolts back in. Our 8mm sits over here and our oiling head sits over here. For that all-in head, guys, you'll need a 4mm all-in head, whether socket or just all-in head wrench. So you just tighten that down, guys. So now we can install our oil pump drive gear and also our circlip here, or locking clip. So that sits right here, guys. And then we'll install the locking clip. You want to make sure that it's sitting in the groove, guys. Okay. So now we can also install our primary drive gear. And that's a right hand, it's a left hand threaded nut, so we'll tighten it to the left. Please make sure to have your washer on there, guys, as there's a washer that sits behind the nut. So please make sure you have that in before you install that. So that's a 22mm nut. Remember, it's a left hand thread, so you got to tighten it to the left. When removing it, you turn it to the right, guys. Okay, that should be good. Now we can install our idle gear with the washer. The washer goes on first. So the washer goes on first, guys, sits on there, and the ridge part goes to the casing like that. So now we can install our kickstarter gear. So we just want to insert that in, rotate this to the right so that the spring will sit in this hole. Alright, so there we go, guys. Next, we just need to install our clutch housing. We can go ahead and put in our shifter first. And please remember, this has a washer that goes in with it as well. So we can just go ahead and install that. And this piece sits on this, in between this post. And then the gear should line up right here. Here we go, guys. So that's that. So now we can go ahead and install our clutch basket, or clutch hub, the washer and the nut. So please remember, there's a sleeve with some ball bearings on there, under there, some needle bearings I should say. So there's the needle bearings and your sleeve, which goes into your clutch hub, your clutch housing I should say, your clutch basket. There's a washer under here, so we can just install that, guys. Then we can install our clutch basket, which also has this. So we install our clutch housing or clutch basket, guys. And then we'll install this lock washer. And then we can install our nut. Make sure that your clutch is sitting all the way down, guys, your clutch hub. Alright. So now we can just go ahead and tighten this. And we can do that either with the impact wrench, or we can stick a nickel in here to hold the gears, and we can tighten it by hand. So for that nut, we'll need a 27mm socket. Okay, guys. So we just need to oil up our clutches and our clutch plates, friction plates, and get them back in. Then we can go ahead and reinstall the hub here, and our ball, our pin, and the rod. So we get that done, guys. Okay, guys, so before I install the clutch plates, I'm going to lubricate them with some motorcycle oil, 4-stroke oil. So when you're installing them, guys, you want to install your friction plate first, then your steel plate, and you interchange between each. So after the first friction plate, you put a steel plate, friction, steel, friction plate, steel, and you should end with a friction plate. So let's get that done, guys. I'm just going to use a bit of oil in this container and just get them lubricated. So we'll do this for all of them, guys, and as I say, we should end with a friction plate. So this is the steel plate, guys. So friction steel, friction steel. Okay guys, here's the final friction plate. Okay guys, now we got all our clutch plates back in. Before you put your rod in, you want to make sure to put your actuator arm in, and that's your clutch actuator arm. So you want to make sure to get that in first, guys, before we put in our clutch rod. So here's the clutch rod. We just get a little oil on that too, guys. So we'll put that in first. Then if you remember, there's a little ball bearing that goes in second, and it sits in this pin. So we can just put that together as a complete assembly. So that sits on there like that, guys. Then we can put our clutch hub cover on, get our clutch springs back in on our screws, and tighten that down to torque, guys. So let's get that done. So the screws that hold these in has a washer on there. So we just get those in, guys. So you just want to compress the spring a bit to get the screw started. And then we can use our 10mm to tighten this down, guys. And you want to do them in a crisscross pattern. So now, guys, we can go ahead and use our nickel and put it in between our primary gear here and the clutch hub, and we can get that to tighten these screws so that it won't spin. just go around and make sure everything is tightened correctly. Alrighty guys, so that's that for our clutch here. So all we need to do now is install our clutch cover, or clutch case I should say, and our clutch cover. So that is where you want to stock your nickel guys, so that the clutch hub doesn't spin, the clutch basket. Okay guys, so here's our clutch casing, or if you want to see your right crank casing. So here's our gasket, so we'll just install that guys and get this on there here. And please remember your dowel pins, you got two, one in the corner here, your top left corner, and one beside your water pump. So please make note of that guys. Okay guys, so I decided to put the dowel pins into the engine casing instead, and then I put on the clutch cover casing. We might need to take off our water pump housing to rotate it so that it sits onto that gear, fits into that gear. Alrighty guys, it's in. Okay guys, so I'm gonna just go ahead and install a new oil filter, and you'll put this part here with the seal into the engine casing, and we'll just lubricate that with a bit of engine oil first. So we can just slide that down in, make sure it's sitting properly. Then we can install our spring and our cover. Get our two 8mm bolts back in. And we can just tighten that down guys. Okay guys, so that's it for crankcase side, or clutch cover side I should say, or clutch and everything here. So our right crankcase cover is done, everything is bolted down and tightened up. So we can go ahead now and install our top end, install our gasket and everything else guys. So okay guys, when installing your piston, You want the arrow to point to the exhaust, which is the front of the engine, and then your compression ring. It's only one compression ring, guys. The opening of that comes to the exhaust port, and your expander ring will come to your intake right there, and your two oil control rings will go 20 degrees off in opposite direction. So one will be here and one will be over here. So 20 degrees off the center of your expander ring. So now we'll just install our base gasket and our cylinder. And please again remember, guys, your tool dowel pins that sit on the left hand side of the engine by your cam chain port. So let's go ahead and get that installed, guys. So base gasket and cylinder. Okay guys, first I'm going to use some oil to coat the cylinder, which will make the piston easier when installing, and also good on startup where it won't be dry. So we get that lubed up, and also we can put a bit on our piston and rings. So on the piston skirtings, around the piston, and on the rings, guys. So that will help when seating the piston into the cylinder, and as I said, also on startup where it won't be a dry start. So now we get our base gasket, and then we'll install that, making sure to get our cam chain through first, getting our cam guide also in there, and getting it over the dowel pin. Okay, so that is it, guys. Okay guys, so now I'm going to install the cylinder. So first we need to get our cam chain through. You probably want to tie that off, guys. I will definitely have to tie that off to get the head on. So in the meantime, so we want to align our piston now, keeping a hand on our cam chain as tight as possible. So we need to compress our rings to get it to seat into the cylinder. So we just squeeze our piston ring, guys, and work the cylinder on. Okay guys, so that is seated. Just make sure everything's aligned properly. Alright, and then we'll put our mounting bolt right here. Okay guys, so we'll use our number 5 all-in head socket to tighten down this mounting bolt for the cylinder. Right. Okay guys, so now we can just rotate the engine to make sure everything is rotating smoothly. Alrighty guys. Okay guys, so I'm going to install the flywheel and the stator cover. So on the flywheel you can see here where the woodruff key goes in. And here's the woodruff key, so we need to just align that and let it sit. Okay guys, so now we can just go ahead and put on our nut. Alright guys, and again we are going to put our gasket on here, and remember your dowel pin guys. One sits here, and one sits here. So one here and one here guys. So here's the gasket guys, and then we can just go ahead and reinstall our stator cover. So we get our bolts in guys, 4 bolts. And we can tighten that down with our 8mm. Okay guys, I almost left out my cam chain guide, so I had to take off back the flywheel and get that on. So now we can get our 4 bolts into our stator cover and tighten that down. Guys, just make sure those are nice and tight, not over tightening them, but just where they're snug enough. And just go back around, make sure everybody is tightened evenly. Alrighty guys, so now we can just also go ahead and reconnect our stator ground. So use our Phillips screwdriver, pull out this screw. Okay guys, so we just connect our stator ground right here. Okay guys, then we just put our cap back onto that. Okay guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the head gasket on and our other cam chain guide. I will need to remove back the stator because this, I don't know why this cam chain keeps coming off the gear, but we'll just do that last when we're about to do the timing. So let's see guys. So we get our cam chain through the gasket, and then we get our other cam guide through. Alright. So we go ahead and install our other cam guide guys. Alright. And then we can get our head and tighten down our head on here. So I'll get something to tie off the cam chain so I can put it through the head. Please remember your dowel pin guys. That's it right by your cam chain port. So now we can get on our head. There we go guys. So now we just gotta put our head bolts on, our two all-in head bolts in, and then we can torque that down guys. So remember your coil for your CDI or stator goes behind these wires here. Keeps it off the engine. So we just screw that in guys. So you will need a number 5 all-in head wrench or socket. Okay guys, so it's time to install these 4 head bolts and washers, and we'll tighten them in a crisscross pattern. And that is a 12mm socket. Alrighty guys, so I'm going to go ahead and reset my cam chain, and then I will install the cams and the cam caps, and then we can test or set the timing, and then we'll check our valve clearance. So we're almost done guys. So okay guys, so I'm going to check our valve clearance. So for the intake it's 0.10 millimeters to 0.15, and for the exhaust it's 0.17 to 0.22. So let's check our intake guys. I think we're a bit loose on the intake here. Let me see what size it will take. So this is a 20 millimeter, 0.20 I should say. So we're definitely over guys. Let me check our exhaust. The exhaust seems to be in spec. We probably can come down a bit on our exhaust valve also, as this is a 23 and that is going through. Five go through. 30 go through. Oh, it seems like it's at point. It seems like it's at 0.30, guys. So we'll need to come down at least by 10.10 millimeters. So we'll check that shim size. I believe I got a 216 here. So we'll need to go up to a 270. Right, so we need a 270 on that. Okay, so this one is 38, this one is 30 at 0.38, 0.30. And I believe I have a 2.50 in here. So we need to at least come down by, for this one, we need to come down by at least 20.25. And for this one, we'll come down 0.20. Okay, guys, so that's how you check your valve clearance. So I'll see you in the next video when I shim everything and get the engine back together.